Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Eden Road podcast, where on tonight's show we're going to be reflecting on that crazy game up at Villa Park on Saturday, and also we're going to briefly look ahead to Sheffield United and also just have a look at the general run-in. 3 games in after the international break now. Not many to go. This season, I'm thankful that this season is almost done, boys. I just really praying that it ends soon. Lots to talk about in this episode. We've got a full house for it. Craig, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Glad to be here again.
Dan, all right?
Yeah, all good. Decent day out of the weekend.
It was good. Callum, good day out of the weekend, mate?
Yeah, it was great. Absolutely, honestly, following it at home was was loving every second of it. So yeah, we did what we had to do. But yes, all good. Thank you. All good.
Good stuff. Just before we get going, guys, remember to drop a comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels, and also give us a follow on our socials. That's at the Eden Road on Twitter and at Eden Road Pod on Instagram. Let's just kick things off with tweet of the week. I'm just going to read the tweet of the week this week. I don't have the and you're going to have to guess who it is. Shambles for all that travelled. Negative shite football. Any guesses? Any guesses who that was?
I think I know.
Uzi.
Callum, answer
I'm
for
off.
yourself, mate.
I'm off. No, I'll tell you what. That first half, if you enjoyed watching that first half, honestly, there was nothing good to it whatsoever. We were just sitting back. I think we were lucky only to concede 2 goals. To be honest with you, Mike, I just did not enjoy the first half performance, and then to start off in the second half by conceding in such fashion, and it's just. It was just negative. We watched it on Wednesday. We got lucky against a Brighton team who I love to watch. I think, on another day, I think they could have beaten us. And Saturday, that first 55 minutes before all hell broke loose, it was shit. So,
I mean, you're not wrong, but I do think we do have to remember we're playing Villa, who are 4th in the table. They've been fantastic this season. They've got best players than us all over the pitch. We've got the injuries. I wasn't surprised to see the negative setup, as opposed to when we played Burnley and we were set up in a 5 still. That surprised me a little bit. But to go to Villa, I kind of knew what the game plan was. And by and large, and we'll get onto it, I just want to get everyone's initial reaction first, and we'll get onto what I was about to say. But Dan, initial reaction to the result?
I would have definitely taken it beforehand, and I think I'll take it even after seeing what happened out there. I think the comeback almost came from nowhere, so I agreed with Callum to an extent, but I also do think we did limit them in places. I don't think we gave as much away in the first half as Callum may be alluding to, but I definitely, it's clear that we didn't go there to play good football. It's clear that we didn't go there to go toe-to-toe with them. I think it's clear that Thomas Frank doesn't really trust this group of players without all the injured players, and that's why we keep setting up the way we do. But like you said, I think I can understand it more against someone in the top 4 away from home.
Yeah, Craig, what about you, mate?
I'm kind of going to go the other way slightly. The funny thing is, Dan and I actually stood next to each other on Saturday, and I said to him, if we go into this podcast with massively differing opinions, something's not quite right here. But I actually feel that we were quite unfortunate to go in at half-time 1-0 down. I thought Mark Flecker was actually quite unlucky to not save that one. It's hit the inside of the post and bounces just the wrong side of the line. So he was unlucky with that one. And then the referee blows the whistle as we're counter-attacking them on the stroke of half-time, and he blows the whistle. We're about 4-on-2, and he blows the whistle, and no one really knows what's happening. It was just chaos. But I feel like we would have taken a boring 0-0 before the game. Yeah. I would have taken a Brighton performance-esque 0-0 before the game. But coming out after drawing 3-3, saying what a bloody game of football that was, it was actually quite nice as well.
100%. I think the ref in the first half was shocking, in my opinion. And in the second half, he gave everything our way. So it was weird, not really consistent. But I think that's 3 games now. And Callum, I don't know what first half you're watching, because I think I'm in agreement with Craig. I think we were probably a little bit unlucky to go in 1-0 down at half time.
I was watching all of it. I'll tell you.
My next point was that if any team and I'm going to obviously, neither of these chances that I'm going to mention led to shooting opportunities, but there were 2 points in the first half where Brian goes through, slightly underhits a pass to Whistle, and I think he should have done well. I haven't seen the highlight back because it wasn't on Match of the Day. But the second one, I think the more glaring one was we counter-attacked. Brian came away with the ball down the right, and he just hangs onto it for far too long because on his left, Mikael Damsgaard is bombing forward. If he plays the ball, Damsgaard has a shot on goal. So I would actually say going in 1-0 down at half-time, we were slightly on the unfortunate side, but I do agree with you, Callum, to concede within 30 seconds of the second half starting was piss poor. And I want to talk
and it wasn't
about
even a good goal. It wasn't even a good goal, Mike. That was the frustrating thing. We just had
Villa's goal? Villa's second goal?
Second goal, not a chance. If you look back at it and you say to yourself, you had Ayer close to him, you had Zanka close to him, and, you know, you've let a goal scorer, you know, he did it for Middlesbrough. You know, he scored a good few goals for Middlesbrough. You know what he's capable of. Don't give him an opportunity like that in front of goal. And I think it was poor. I really do think it was poor. And, you know, what you want in the first 5 to 10 minutes of that second half, we've seen it in the first half in multiple occasions where we come out slow and concede silly goals. That was a carbon copy, you know. It was a silly goal to concede, and they're all having a disagreement with each other, you know. And it's frustrating, but you know they've done it before, so yeah, it is what it is, really.
I was surprised after that first one came in. There were a lot of murmurs. I think there was 2 gents in front of me who had left, but then thankfully came back when we scored the first one back. But I don't know, Craig, when that second one went in, were you? I know, Dan, I know that you weren't close to leaving, but were you thinking about going after the second one went in?
Not really, no, because I feel like if they'd have scored another one pretty quick afterwards, then I would have been out the door. But
yeah,
at 2-0, I wasn't really thinking about it, and especially considering they scored that one and then just didn't really do much afterwards. Up until really we'd scored our 3 goals, I didn't think they actually threatened our goal very much up until we decided we wasn't going to attack them anymore. Yeah. So I wasn't really at the point of leaving. Not this time around. If we were 3-0 down inside 13 minutes, I wouldn't have been there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was much better than last year. So much better than last year. Could definitely say that. Dan, just talk us through that 9-minute spell, starting with possibly the worst finish I've ever seen from Zanka. Just absolutely terrible, but we take it because it kind of kick-started that 9-minute spell, like you said, Craig, where we were just attacking. I think it was only up until we were still attacking after we'd scored the third, and after they got their first chance, the game state was just all over the place. It was that we were on top for so long and they were on top for so long. But yeah, Dan, just talk us through that 9 minutes because it was mental, wasn't it?
I didn't see it coming. I'll say that, and I think it probably took something like that type of goal to trigger it. I don't know if I'm being harsh, but from where I was and where Craig was, I think we both said it. I think Damsgaard was trying to shoot, but he ended up crossing it. And then obviously it hit Zanka on the wrong foot. The more I see it, potentially I'm being a bit harsh on Damsgaard, but at the time I thought he was trying to shoot. And obviously it's an extremely fortunate goal. I think if anyone's going to score that type of goal, it'll probably be Zanka, to be honest. But we got a bit of luck in the moment. And then, before we knew it, it was 3-2. And it literally, even the second, you know, they were our first 2 like kind of big chances where we actually got a shot away. And then I think we just shocked them, really. But I guess it's a testament to our more recent mentality where we are starting to react better to going behind. And we are starting to do perhaps what teams did to us earlier in the season by scoring quick-fire goals, which obviously we have been conceding too often this season. So I think there's been improvements in that regard.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely nice to see us using momentum as opposed to being crushed by the momentum. When we've spoken about it before against West Ham, against Spurs. United, there's been so many points where we concede in 2s as opposed to just conceding in 1. But this time we were on the right side of it. I do want to talk about the second and the third with reference to Reguilón and Damsgaard, who were at the heart of all of the goals, really, weren't they? I think Damsgaard kind of had a part to play. Well, he had a big part to play in Zanka's first, but Reguilón especially. Craig, and then I'll go to I'll flip it because you like Damsgaard, Craig. Callum, you've said some things about Reguilón before, so I'll flip it. Were you impressed with Reguilón? I think now I think anyone that kind of had bad things to say about Reguilón, very understandable after Burnley, because he did kind of just completely fuck that game up for us within the first 5 minutes. But I think we've said on the podcast consistently that when he has played and he's played well, you can see that he's a proper player. And in terms of that attacking threat going down the flanks from wing backs, we're not going to get it from Roerslev. And I want to talk about Roerslev as well. But we do get it from Reguilón. And he showed on Saturday with his delivery, with the fact that he had Konsa on toast, it seemed, down that left-hand side. I think Konsa was filling in at right back for Cash. Was Cash on the bench, or was he just unavailable, injured maybe? But Konsa down the right just looked not good at all, which is nice to see, because he's had fights with Morpay, and I don't really care about Konsa. But yeah, talk to me about Reguilón, Callum.
Very good display. I really enjoyed seeing what he had to do on Saturday. And do you know what? The one thing I'm frustrated the most of is that he didn't see it through to the full 90. I think, if I'm not saying Lewis Potter here could have done better with closing that ball down. It's difficult in a left back position, but I think Reguilón could have done slightly better preventing it. But no, across the whole game, he was all over the place and causing issues, as you say, for Konsa. Getting at him, putting some great deliveries into the box. In the first half, there was one he whipped in, and I said straight away, I said, blimey, that's a fantastic delivery he's whipped in. And then in the second half, he creates opportunities for players, which is what you want to see from an attacking left back. And I actually really want to see him stay next season. I really do. And you could see there was a video which has been doing the rounds of the limbs on the third goal, and you could see him when that had gone in the back of the net. The passion. He was so happy for that ball to go in the back of the net. He's part of the team. He's giving it all for the team, and I love a player like that. I think he's great for the club at the moment, and I really hope he stays. And it was fantastic. He got my man of the match on the GPG as well. Full credit to him. And I hope he starts on Saturday as well. I think he will do well for us. I think he will.
I think he went off with an injury. I think he was holding his hamstring. I think I saw a tweet from Jay to say that he was holding his hamstring when he went off. So fingers crossed he'll be all right for Saturday. But if Reguilón does stay, Callum, then you get your wish of Rico at right back, no?
Absolutely. Listen, this is an argument. It was had on social media, and you can put it to the GPG if you like as well. Someone agreed with me and said Rico Henry had played at right back, and he did play there in pre-season. He did play a couple of games there as well. So Rico Henry at right back, Reguilón at left back. There you go. We've got the paciest left back and right back in the division. Job done. That's what more would you want, boys? What more would you want, hey?
You're not wrong on that. He's got, and I do want to say as well, I do feel quite sorry for KLP, because it's just like, I don't think he's played his position this season. I want to say maybe he's been deployed at left wing back, and it's difficult. It's been really difficult for him, just by virtue of the fact that he's playing at left wing back, and he's got attacking intent. He likes to stand up players and take them on, but when he gets into those dangerous positions, his delivery with his left foot is not good. And I think we saw
wasted.
that.
He's wasted, Mike. I actually think he played at parts at Hull as a striker. Now, we've seen this season, now it's very rare, but the one game he proved his worth was against Crystal Palace, where he scored a very good goal at Crystal Palace. And I wanted him to go on and score a few more goals after that. He's got 2 for the season. He's much better, I think, in that position. But of course, you've got other players who are obviously going to get ahead of him. I feel sorry for him. I think he's wasted the club. I put a tweet out on Saturday which got some traction on it, and people were saying, "Oh, well, he's not good enough," and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, because he's not been given an opportunity. When you looked at him last season, he was part of that team who beat Manchester United 4-0 and got us off to what was a fantastic start to that season. Then he then picked up an injury, and ever since then, he's not been able to put himself in the squad. I'm frustrated for him. I really am, but it's what it is.
It's difficult because we've got Wissa, we've got Brian, we've got Tony, we've got options on the wing, and it just seems like, I think you're right in saying that he hasn't properly had a chance. And even last season when he played on the wing, he was really good. But I don't know. At the time when he came in, I think we were all really excited. Championship player of the season. Hull fans had loads of good things to say about him, but it just hasn't. And even when it has looked like it's about to start clicking, he gets put to left wing back, or there's an injury, so he has to play in a different position, or he gets dropped in favour of Brian or Wissa. So it's definitely difficult. But just last thing on Reguilon, I didn't realise I knew he was quick before he came to the club, but that kind of burst of pace, especially for the cross for Brian over the first kind of 5 yards, didn't think he had that in him. When he just has a touch away and he's so quick over that first 5 yard sprint that he's able to get the cross in, and it's a brilliant finish from Brian. It reminded me of, was it the goal against Swansea in the playoff semi-final when we came up, when Rico crossed it in and Brian kind of hooked it in with his left foot? It was kind of like that, but he hooked it in with his right instead. But Craig, I want to talk to you about Damsgaard, because I feel like if Reguilon didn't win man of the match, Damsgaard certainly would have. Best performance, I reckon, since Fulham at home last season. I think that is kind of part of the problem with Damsgaard, because we haven't seen that level of consistency in his performances. Also, you have to play into that he hasn't been starting games and he's been coming on as subs. But yeah, Damsgaard, Craig, talk to me.
So firstly, I'm going to go back for a second and say KLP may be playing at left wing back, but at least he's not kicking up a stink and making it about him like a certain former Spanish player that no longer plays for us, or plays for us and is on loan. I don't even know anymore. Yeah, Damsgaard, yeah, easily his best game that he's had for a very long time, ever since the Fulham game last year. And consistency in playing is probably what is causing his biggest downfall. You know, if he was playing consistently, then we probably would see this level of performance more and more often. But he, again, is one of those players where he plays in a very congested position where we've got a lot of players that are pushing to play in midfield, you know? So he's not really going to get ahead of, you know, Matty on a regular basis. He's not necessarily ahead of Avita, and definitely not Norgard on a regular basis. So it's unfortunate that he's in a very competitive position. But yeah, being involved in all 3 goals. I mean, he took the quick free kick for the second goal. Was it the second goal, the quick free kick?
I think it was third, maybe.
Either way. And then, yeah, the shot, cross-court shot, whichever it is, whichever way we're looking at it, for the worst goal of the season. That's obviously his involvement. And I thought his work rate was actually fantastic. We all know he's not very strong. He doesn't have much strength, but he was really putting himself about. He was helping the forwards, and he was very, very strong defensively, I thought, as well. And it was one of his best games that he's had. And I hope, as much as we hope the same thing for KLP every single time we talk about him, is that this is the moment that he kicks on and moves on up and gets himself into the team more often. And just needs a goal. I want him to score so badly.
Yeah, for sure. I think you make a good point about his defensive work in that first half against Leon Bailey as well, who every time he gets on the ball in any game, it looks like he's about to do something. He's got such quick feet and he's so quick, absolutely rapid. But in that first half, Damsgaard and Reguilon did a good job of just kind of shutting him down, and he didn't really have too much in that first half, which was nice to see. Obviously, he was involved in their third goal, which we'll get onto. Go on.
Was it a foul by Bailey on Reguilon in the first minute?
See, I've seen it back a couple of times. I've seen it from a different angle today as well. It doesn't look like he gets the ball. And in the first angle, it does look like he gets the ball, but I don't know. It was one where we looked at it from the away end and we thought, well, there might be a VAR check coming. There was another one in the first half where I think it was Aya kind of gets flatlined by someone.
There was one where a free kick where Collins has gone up to head of it and their players just jumped straight into his back. And I'm sure Dan has said to you, there's another one where someone's just gone straight into the back of one of us and we're not even looking at it again.
Yeah, I mean, going the other way, I think Zanka was doing a bit of holding a couple of corners as well. So
I'll tell you what, he was very lucky with that one in the first half, honestly. And I said straight away when they looked at it, and I said that it went to us. But really, the only reason why I think it went to us is because the referee was the one who gave it. So they had to conclusively say, had to be brave and say it's going to go the other way. If the referee didn't give that, I think he could have seriously given away a pen. And it's not the first time either this season. All right, it's happened to him and we should have been given a pen, but he needs to be careful. Sheffield United on Saturday have got a very big squad. And I'm afraid he's going to go and give away a penalty on Saturday because he likes to get involved in these 50-50s in the box and pulling black players, and you think to yourself, look, come on, mate, let's be sensible here. But
I don't rate Zanka, and I know a lot of people don't. Or when you go through Twitter, he's the one that's getting a lot of stick. And my old man, who's been on here before, he's not really one to single out players. But when we're walking back to the car, he says, "I feel so sorry for Aya having to play next to Zanka, and sometimes having to play next to that Collins that has the bad game, because I think Aya just does consistently well, but he's got two donkeys sometimes next to him, and I don't rate Zanka." And Sky said on the score center that it was incredibly lucky. We were incredibly lucky that didn't get overturned and given their way.
Yeah, I think with those kind of incidents in the box, I don't think they've been they haven't really given that too many penalties like that this season. I'm thinking the Burnley one, we didn't go our way, but there was one last week as well with Dunk, and I can't remember who it was on our side. Maybe it was Duncan Wisser, wasn't it, last week?
Yeah.
That didn't get given. They've not been too consistent, and for me they're like some of the most clear cut penalties when players are holding each other in the box and dragging each other down, but they just tend to not give them. So it is worrying, and we do miss Pinnock a lot, especially with these crosses into the box. Although they were still happening with Pinnock in the team, but Zanka, even for Watkins third, just doesn't get up at all. Just reads the ball wrong. But I think KLP's deflection didn't do him any favours, but he just doesn't get up off the ground, and we'll talk about that goal as well. But I do want to talk about Mads Roerslev, Dan. I think if he sorted his decision making out sometimes and his reading of the game, he could actually be a top player, because I think he's got the kind of 1v1 defensive work sorted. I don't think we need to worry about him in that aspect. Like a couple of moments of lapses of concentration you can forgive him for, because I think every kind of player is prone to that. But there was a couple of moments in the second half, and there was a couple of moments against Brighton as well, where it's almost like he doesn't read the pass right, or he doesn't read the run right, and he ends up kind of half sprinting, half jogging, and then he's in the position where he's just in limbo. You know he's not going to get there, but then the away end gets frustrated, or the home crowd gets frustrated, because if you read that right, then you get there and we're in a promising position. But I don't know, he gets a lot of stick, Dan. What do you make of him? We do talk about him quite a lot, but I feel like in the last few games especially, he's not standing out, but he's not getting as much stick as he used to. And I feel like this season he's had to really kind of step up, with Hickey being out for the whole season, it looks like now. Don't know where the fuck he is. But yeah, just about Roerslev. What do you think, Dan?
He's not a bad squad player. I think he probably didn't even expect himself to play as much as he has this season. He probably isn't who you want to be your first choice, but we do see the occasional game from him where he puts in a brilliant cross, and that attacking output is there. So he's got it in him somewhere. Obviously, he's still developing. I expect him to improve. He's certainly not a bad player. I think he's quite reliable defensively. He's got it in him. I think there was a few games ago where we were saying, wow, some of the crosses he's put in today was, brilliant. And we just want to see that from him more. And I don't know whether it's when the team are playing slightly better, he gets slightly more confident and he feels more able to, make those runs forward, where sometimes you feel that he's holding back a bit and he's not really making those runs and he's choosing the easy pass, back to the centre back or something like that. So I think we just need to see more of that from him.
How old is Mads? He's still young, isn't he?
I think he's mid-20s now, maybe 24, 25.
Mid-20s. Yeah. He's played a lot of games. Like, in terms of players that have come up through with us through the Championship, he made a lot of appearances in the Championship, made a lot of appearances in the Premier League now. He's played a lot of games for Brentford. So you would be hoping that sort of in the next couple of seasons, if he decides to stay at the club, which I don't think there's going to be anyone coming in for him, but you'd be 24. Hoping that he can 24. Yeah, he kind of iron out those parts of his game.
He's 7 games off of 100 appearances for Brentford.
Yeah, it's a lot of games. It's a lot of games. Let's talk about Watkins. Of course, it had to be Watkins that scored twice as well. That was fucking annoying. But let's talk about Watkins' equaliser, Craig. I'll put it to you because you are our resident goalkeeping expert. People not happy with Flecken. I don't know. I'm in two minds about it. I think the deflection really just offsets that cross completely, and then as soon as he's backpedaling, he's not going to get off the ground. But I feel like Flecken's as much to blame as the back line is to blame for not getting up and helping their keeper out. And Watkins, we know, is so good in the air this season. But yeah, what was your take on the equaliser?
So, firstly, we've already kind of touched on it. We've already kind of touched on it previously, where maybe Reguilon would have actually got there ahead of KLP had Reguilon stayed on the pitch. So, firstly, the ball should have been stopped from coming into the box. The fact that people aren't blaming outfield players for stopping the cross, but are blaming the goalkeeper, again, I'm still unsure about how they've worked that out. The cross takes a deflection, so you can if you watch the goal happen, Mark steps forward as if he's going to come and collect the ball, but as he takes that step forward, it takes the nick, which then loops it all the way over. But as anyone will know, if you take a step forward and then have to backpedal, it's going to completely throw you off. He's then stretching for it. And Watkins is 2 feet higher in the air than Zanka is. Easily. Because Zanka's got fucking concrete boots and lead pipe legs because he can't get off the floor. Nicholas Jackson did it to him when we played Chelsea. Watkins has done it to him. It's probably happened many other times to him. He cannot get off the floor. So why not blame the fact we didn't stop the cross? Zanka can't jump 6 inches off the floor rather than blaming the goalkeeper for being wrong-footed by a deflection.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, I think one of the main differences, I think we've spoken about it before with Raya and Flecken, and it's not really right to compare them because Raya's, I think he's shown now. I know that there were some doubts about Raya at the start from Arsenal fans, but this season, when I had the Arsenal fan on to do the preview, you look at his stats, his cross-claiming percentage is like 6% higher than any other goalkeeper in Europe's top 5 leagues. And it's another reason why Arsenal's defence is so solid this season. Go on, Craig.
But we can still... I could still name you 2 or 3 incidents in which the ball has gone over Raya's head and ended up in the back of the net.
Yeah.
I think about when we was in the Championship, we beat Middlesbrough 4-1, and we had to come back from a goal down because he's come out and completely missed the ball. You know, when Modric has put it over his head from a cross shot, these incidents happen to every goalkeeper. All the time. They happen every weekend in the football. Look at the one that Peterborough just scored. That has absolutely flown into the top corner from a cross. And I wonder how many of their fans are blaming the goalkeeper. But I can imagine if that happened to us, that Mark Flecken would be getting absolutely rinsed for it, even though the goalkeeper had no chance. No chance.
Yeah. No.
What with the Peterborough goal yesterday? You having a laugh?
Did you see it?
I did see it. Are you having a laugh? He had to do better than that.
Everyone knows how windy it was over this weekend, and that ball has got caught and gone. Don't even deny. Don't even deny that you Callum, you'd have caught it, mate, wouldn't you? You'd have caught it.
Honestly, do not look at me as a goalkeeper. All you have to do is come down to see me on a Monday night sometimes playing football. It's a shambles. But I'm not saying listen, at Wembley Stadium he should be doing better, that keeper. But anyway, Greg, I know the one you're talking about, especially the 90th minute. He should have claimed that, but never mind.
Claimed it.
He should have punched the ball over. Honestly.
How could he punch the ball over? He couldn't reach the pissing thing.
Anyway, let's move on from the Bristol Street Motors. Anyway, let's.
all I'm saying is David Raya is better at commanding his box, I would say, than Mark Flecken. That's all I'm saying, and I think that's pretty.
But David Raya is better than 97% of the goalkeepers in the Premier League.
But there you go. That's why I was confused. Like all the Arsenal fans at the start of the season, when we'd signed him and he's having a bit of a wobble, they were saying, and they're not sure if he's better than Ramsdale. And we kept consistently saying he's a much better goalkeeper than Ramsdale, and I think he's showing that now. But yeah, anyway, don't want to talk about Arsenal. It's not an Arsenal podcast. Let's anything else from the game itself we want to talk about? I think we've all kind of concluded that we would have taken a point before the game, and given the circumstances of going 2-0 down, I think you still take a point. When Villa Park gets going as well, you could see that goal coming. It was just they make it so loud in there. Every time they got a corner, every time they had a shot, the crowd got up so much, you just knew what was going to happen. But anything else from the game that we want to talk about specifically? There's a couple of things that I want to talk about. Go on, Cam.
I do. 100%. The silly substitutions he made in the last 5 minutes by bringing Morpay on Onyeka on, that I said straight away, there was going to be tons of stoppage time added on. It was a stupid thing to do. I mean, it didn't cost us, but Morpay, we've lost our pace up front with Mbremo going off. I do not understand that one bit. and Jensen going off for Onyeka. I honestly, right, I give up. Onyeka, fuck's sake, what on earth was that performance? Honestly,
He's finally
oh my
buckled.
God.
Finally buckled.
You watch him on television and you're like, what the bloody hell is going on? Honestly, he has no spatial awareness whatsoever. And there was an opportunity to pass the ball, simple ball down the line to Roslev. He's just kicked the bloody ball out of play. And I'm just, do you know what? That was two silly substitutions. I did not understand them one bit. Like, you know, you've got your pace up front, you've got you've got your two you want, you've got Tony, you've got Embremo, and then he then decides to bring Morpay on. There's your pace gone straight away. Like it was silly. And what's Morpay going to do in the last, 10 minutes? Might score a goal, possibly, but against their back line, I mean, doubtful. And then taking Jensen off, where we have that key player in the centre of the park. Now, if there's one player I think should come on the pitch, it should be Baptiste. Baptiste, I think he should get more minutes personally. I don't understand why he's not. He's more of a composed centre mid player than Onyeka is at the moment. Onyeka, I have no idea what he's doing, but
I can't believe this from you, Callum. I cannot believe this from you.
I lost my head.
His #1 fan.
Oh, fuck's sake. I had 5 minutes of watching him on Wednesday, and he just lost the plot, and then on Saturday he just got completely lost again. And I'm thinking, well, why don't we see these performances he puts in for Nigeria? I'm just completely lost. Like he doesn't look. Whether he's a player who wants to play for the club anymore, I don't know. But he just, I still support Onyeka, but flipping heck, mate, come on, man, honestly. But no, I don't know if you boys agree. I just thought the two substitutions late on were just asking for trouble. Like, you want to get the players, you want to make the right substitutions in the key areas, and I just think, fair enough, possibly, Jensen may be going off for a centre mid player who, as I said, may do something, but taking Embremo off, don't agree with that.
I think obviously it's difficult when we had Antonio and Embremo on the pitch, and they're a good partnership. And there's a question from someone who messaged me on Facebook about that partnership up top. But he's just come back from injury. That was his first start. I think if he stays on, he gets injured, then we're saying, why the bloody hell didn't you take him off? Do you know what I mean? It's one of those. But yeah, I agree with Onyeka. I mean, he came on against Brighton, that 5-minute cameo. He got absolutely flattened in one of the. When he just come on and he goes in for a 50-50 and just gets completely wiped out. And Callum, you were cheering his name then, so I don't know how you changed your tune so much, Sam.
Mate, honestly, it's when he passed that bloody pass out. I don't know if you remember it, and I was just like, what on earth are you doing? Simple pass, and he's kicked it out of play, and I'm saying, bloody hell, honestly. It's just... I just want him to go and score a goal. Honestly, I'll be proud. I'll be a proud man. Luton away when he comes on and scores. Honestly, I'll be on the pitch. I'll be like, boys, I'm off.
Consolation goal, that will. He's going to score.
Let's talk about. Go on, Craig. Go on.
All I was going to say, talking about Onyeka, the bit that I thought was the funniest was, I'm sure it's in injury time. The ball is up in the air, and you think,
oh yeah.
Just head it backwards towards Collins or or even go all the way back to Bartley, and he just heads it directly upwards and out of play again. So you're thinking, oh God,
no spatial awareness whatsoever. But he'll go in the summer. I'm sure. I don't see him playing for Brentford next season, regardless of where we are. I just think, he's a player. I think he's 26 now. I think he plays for his national team, and he's not playing very much for us.
I think Everton were interested in him. Or was that a rumor in the January transfer window? Maybe I think I saw that.
That is no. I don't.
They can have him.
His agent sniffing around. Yeah, I know, sniffing around for him. Really,
they give us some good money for him. I definitely.
Didn't I hear Fulham as well? I thought I heard Fulham linked with him as well at one point.
Yeah. I think with
Palhinha
off. I think because Everton and Fulham are probably going to lose Anana and Palhinha, I'd imagine, over the summer, because they're the two kind of best players. Well, definitely Palhinha.
I can see Pickford going as well.
Pickford?
Yeah, I can see Pickford leaving. I'd have him every day of the week. I'd have Pickford, yeah.
Not so great with his feet, though, distribution-wise.
I'm all right.
Not as bad as that Burnley on Saturday, though. Bloody hell. I told you, Craig, that was well worth watching, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, we had a blinder against us, so, Let's talk about the Collins Ivan drama. I think it was kind of storm in a teacup kind of thing. Ivan, it was weird because when he came on, didn't do much at all. There was a point where they were all over us, and he takes a really quick throw in up to Morpay and expects him to hold it up over three defenders, and they win it back immediately and go up the other end and have an attack. And I'm just thinking, if we concede from this is on you, mate, because there was no need to. We just won the ball back, and it was a little bit of pressure that we'd taken ourselves out of. And he just throws it to Morpay, who's got three defenders around him trying to get a goal. But it looked like what happened was there was a little bit of frustration on Ivan's side that Collins didn't find him in that last attack that we had when we knew that the whistle was going to go afterwards. Having seen it back, he was about 3 yards offside, so I don't know what he was complaining about. But I think the main point, Dan, is that if you played football before, you'll understand that those kind of arguments happen in games, and they've sorted it out, they've hashed it out on social media, they look like they're fine. But I think some of the fallout from that was a little bit over the top, maybe, Dan.
I think it happens. I think it happens more than people think. I think it's better when it happens without an audience. So, in the dressing room afterwards. Obviously they want to win. I saw they put out an Instagram story later that evening, and they're all good and they're fine. So there's no big issue from it. Ivan Toney was probably just a bit frustrated that he didn't get much game time as well, and obviously he couldn't impact the game at all. I thought Wissa and Mbeumo did quite well in his absence. So there might be a bit of frustration there from him as well that he didn't play, because I'm sure he would have wanted to, even if he was slightly injured. I think it's been made a bigger thing than it is by certain parts of the media. So I don't think it's anything to really worry about.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we'll get on to Sheffield United, because I do think we're probably going to see Ivan, Wissa and Brian in the same front three. Well, I'm hoping we're going to see that front three, but we'll get on to that. I think there's a couple of things we should definitely talk about in terms of like relegation, big picture. Obviously, Everton today have been deducted a further 2 points after the initial 10 being reduced to 6, and now they've got another 2. So I think we've leapfrogged them in the table, and there's now a little bit. Well, basically, Everton have got 2 fewer points. So
they're on 27 points now. So we're on 29, they're on 27, and I think Forest, Luton on 25.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I just don't know. I'm praying that we've spoken about it before, that it doesn't go beyond the season finishing, and we're still talking about points deductions and how that could affect the table. It's just a bit of a shambles from the Premier League that this is still going on, and it's taken so long for them to get to this conclusion. I feel for those fans. I feel for those fans in terms of the staggering of the points deductions and how it's gone up and down and up and down. But I feel like, the banners that Everton fans put up saying the Premier League is corrupt, it's just like you just got incompetent owners. I think sometimes it's easy. I know it could be completely different if we were in the same situation and this was going on, but in terms of the rules, they are the rules. You can't lose this amount of money over a 3-year period, and both Forest and Everton have done that. So it's just like, that there's going to be a punishment. Maybe it's too severe, and that needs to be looked at in terms of how the Premier League want to deal with it going forward. But it's just one of those. It doesn't affect us massively. Obviously, the 3 games that we've got coming up are all huge. But before we get into Sheffield United, Dan, I want to talk to you because you put a message in the chat when I put that last point in. 12 points from a possible 63 in the last 21 games, which is terrible. And I said, thank God for Sheffield United and Burnley and the points deductions. Any other season, I think we'd have been doomed already. But you made a good point that, in fact, I'll just let you take over, Dan, because I think you put it better than I'll put it.
Yeah, so I was just looking at the table last season after 32 games, and taking our points total currently. Obviously, now we've played 32 games, so we had 29 points. I think 18th place after 32 games last season had 28. 19th place had 27, and I think bottom place had 25. So we would have been out of the relegation zone, but it would have been a hell of a lot tighter, and there would have been more than one place available as well. So I think it was Forest actually who were 19th on 27 points, and obviously they ended up staying up. So obviously you can see how things would move around from there, because obviously they ended up staying up. I don't know how comfortable it was, but I don't think they were first in line to go down. I think Everton were more in trouble towards the end. So we would be looking at these games, and I would probably be saying, we probably do have a good, favourable fixture list still. and it is in our hands. And if we didn't get enough points from those games, it's probably our own fault, and we probably deserve to go down at that point. Obviously, in terms of this season and what the league actually is, I'm just looking at it. We're in a fight with Luton. I don't want to have to worry about appeals from Forest and Everton, and whether they'll get any points back, when that would be, etc. But if you just look at where Luton are, and where we are, and how many games are left and how many points are available, I think that's our fight. And I think this weekend coming up is a massive weekend, because they go to City, and obviously you'd hope City would do the job there. And then we have, if you could pick fixtures, we'd probably have the one you'd pick, and they probably have the one that they picked last. So I think that's why it's a big weekend. And obviously the week later we go there. So it would help if we could go there with a larger points gap.
100%. I think it is still, thank God for Sheffield United and Burnley, considering that it was still we'd still be out of the relegation zones last season. But in terms of the 20th place and the 19th place teams, they are quite far behind in comparison to the 20th place and 19th place.
There's
teams
only one team to worry about this season, whereas last season would be more.
We keep saying thank God for Luton, thank God for Sheffield United, thank God for Burnley. We can also say thank God for Everton and thank God for Luton, because Luton have won 1 game in 11. Everton have won 1 game in 14. Forest have won 2 games in 9. Everyone, and I'm going to include Palace in this, because Palace, everyone's overlooking that. We're a point behind them. They are in this as much as we are. They're in this as much as we are, because a lot of their fans, a lot of social media is pointing out that they're actually pretty shit. Like they're not very good. And they're involved in this as well. So people keep ruling them out. But the fact that we're completely ignoring Crystal Palace in this conversation as well is crazy. But we keep saying thank God for Sheffield United, thank God for Burnley. 6, 7 teams in the league have got relegation form. That is our saving grace. And we've said this so many times that, and Dan, I said it to you again on Saturday, it will not be our form that keeps us in the Premier League. It will be other teams' form that keeps us up. The fact that we keep losing, but other teams keep losing, is what will keep us in the Premier League. Yeah,
for sure. I think I want to talk about the last 3 games before we get on to Sheffield United and the run-in and the kind of form that we've been in since coming back from the break. I do think we look a different side. The performance against Man United was arguably the best performance of the season. We didn't get 3 points, and that was, if we didn't get a point from that, it would have been one of the biggest robberies of the season. Against Brighton, I think we kind of knew that it was going to be a difficult game against a team that likes to keep the ball. And against Villa, we take a point after being 2-0 down and coming back from 3-2. But my general point is, and it kind of points to something else, I'm not trying to say that we've been amazing this season, but at one point this season, we were on course for the unluckiest season in Premier League history in terms of underperforming our XG. You couple that with the injuries, you couple that with everything else. The fact that we've got 3 of the teams in and around us who are in the relegation fight that you mentioned, Craig, in the next 3 games, we are better teams than those 3 teams. Some of the performances this season when we've played teams like Tottenham, teams like Villa, teams like United, even teams like Liverpool away to a certain extent when we still had a lot of injuries at that point, and the 2 games against City where I thought we were really good, we are better than the 3 teams we're about to face in the next 3 weeks. So with that in mind, if we throw away all of that good work that we've done in the 3 games since coming back from the international break, it would be an absolute fucking disaster. An absolute disaster if we somehow come out of these next 3 games with 0, or if we don't beat Sheffield United on Saturday.
We deserve to go down.
We fully deserve to.
Sheffield United.
And we are so much better than those 3 teams, and I think we've shown that this season, even with the injuries. So yeah, thoughts on the last 3 games. We'll go around. Dan, I'll come to you first, and we'll go Craig, and then Callum.
The last 3, I think Man United is the one that we probably would look back on and say that's a missed opportunity, because of how the game was. I still don't really know how we didn't win that, and I think that's partly down to luck. The other 2, I'll take it. I mean, before Man United, I was saying we need 3 wins. And obviously we've strung 3 points together somehow now. So you could say that now we only need 2 wins. So, I would say that is an overall positive in the last week. And, if you looked at all of our fixtures, those 3 games, together with potentially Newcastle, were probably our 4 hardest games remaining. So if you look ahead now, I think we've got very favourable fixtures, and it would be our own fault if we go down from here with these fixtures remaining.
Craig, last 3 games?
Before the international break, we said we need to get these 3 games out of the way and then focus on what we've got afterwards. Now, we've only picked up 3 points in these 3 games, but we've come out of this run of fixtures without losing, which is fantastic for us. And it should be a huge morale boost for the players going into the next 3 games, especially having come back at Villa the way that we did. This is now, we've joked about it a lot, whether it's not don't lose or must win. We are going into must win territory. We're going into must win territory. I think that it's this Saturday is our biggest game in the Premier League since we've been in it. This is the biggest game. If we don't win this weekend, I'm worried that I'm not confident enough to actually stay up. We have to win this weekend.
Callum, your assessment of the last 3 games before we get on to Sheffield United?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we did very well against Manchester United, and just on another day, we would score those opportunities and beat them comprehensively. But I've supported at Brentford over 20 years now. I've seen games like that before. We all have. It's just we haven't seen it for a while where Brentford dominate in such fashion, and then I think the biggest killer would have been if we didn't score that equaliser. I mean, what it would have done for the mood in the camp. I mean, I think it was pretty bad, regardless of the fact although we came away with a draw, but we dominated that game. We should have got 3 points, and what that would have done for us over the next few games would have been, huge. Brighton frustrating. Brighton didn't know how to break us down, and we set up in such a fashion to frustrate them. I mean, it was good for us because we kept a clean sheet, which we haven't had for a while, so that was a bonus. But a lot of fans were frustrated, obviously, after back of such a big performance. We didn't see a repeat of that. And Saturday, great. We haven't seen us score 3 goals for quite a while, so I'm happy to see that. But it's just a defensive display. But I would say this Saturday, I would actually say it's the biggest fixture we've had, other than the playoff final over the last 10 years or so. I actually think this is huge. If you look at it and you say, well, we can win Saturday, what's going to happen at the City game, hopefully, and hopefully they go and score some goals, and that means their goal difference is obviously considerably worse than ours at that point. We then go to play them with a 7-point gap and a much better goal difference than Luton. We go there and we're still 4 points. I mean, number one, I think the atmosphere will be shit on Saturday. I mean, we won't talk about that later. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about we'll talk about the City. We'll talk about the game on Saturday very shortly. But
let's move on to Sheffield United. I've got, for anyone watching on YouTube, you'll see that I pulled up the run-in for the relegation candidates. Although Crystal Palace aren't in there, they probably should be, considering their recent form, as Craig rightly pointed out. Dan, the king of a calm head, you said that this is the closest to a must-win you're going to get to. How are you feeling ahead of Saturday with those fixtures in front of you? Obviously, as Callum just mentioned, we beat Sheffield United, and assuming that Luton don't pull off a miracle at Man City, we will be 7 points clear of them going into the game next week. But yeah, how are you feeling ahead of Sheffield?
I say that because I think 2 wins will do it. And I think Sheffield United at home is our biggest chance of one of those 2 wins. I mean, if we get those 2 wins, we're on 35 points. Luton are currently on 25. Assuming they lose to City, and I think that's quite reasonable to say that they probably will lose to City, and I say that if any of the bottom 6 are playing City, then they have 5 games to make up 10 points. And I would suggest that they probably won't do that, because they'd have to win, 3 and draw a couple, or win 4 games out of 5. And I just can't see them doing that. So I think 2 wins will be enough. And I do think to ease the pressure and to not drag it on to too late in the season, and because City are playing Luton this weekend, and we can increase that gap hopefully this weekend before we go to Luton, which will be a massive game if we don't beat Sheffield United. I think it is by far, and obviously I'm not underestimating them, but I think it is by far our best opportunity to get 3 points. And then we're halfway there. Then you're looking at 5 games where you need 1 win. Yeah. I mean, if we were to win the next 2, beat Sheffield United and Luton, we can almost sit back and enjoy the last 4, which would be the ideal scenario. Especially because we would be taking points off Luton too. And then I wouldn't see them coming back from that if we win that next 2. So yeah, I think we need to set up positively at the weekend. There is no reason we can't beat Sheffield United at home, and we've got to believe that. But we also can't take them lightly.
Yeah, I think it's not going to be. I don't think it's going to be easy necessarily, though, Craig. It's almost like since Sheffield United kind of they haven't had mathematical confirmation yet, but they've been as good as down for a few weeks now. But it's almost as if in the recent weeks they're kind of playing with the shackles off. They got a decent draw against Chelsea last time out, drew against Fulham. Obviously, they were 3-1 up in that game and kind of threw it away. Who did they beat? Who did they beat last weekend? Did they get a win last weekend, or did I just make that up? Yeah, potentially.
They
they
drew 3-3. They drew 2-2 at Chelsea, lost 3-1 at Liverpool, drew 3-3 with Fulham, drew 2-2 with Bournemouth. They haven't won since they beat Luton on the 10th of February.
Right. Okay. So they haven't won a game, but I'm saying it, Craig. It's not going to be really
easy. No, not at all. They're going to set up not to lose in the same way that we have done these last 3 games as well. They're going to set up not to lose this game, and if we play front 2, if we only play 2 up top, I don't see us breaking them down in the way that we need to. So looking at the running not the running, sorry, but the fixtures that the teams have got, you've just changed the screen now.
Sorry.
But looking at all of the fixtures that teams have got, I mean, Everton are away to Chelsea. I think I saw someone's at home to Brighton. Someone's away to Wolves as well. Like these are games that teams in the bottom 6 are not going to be looking forwards to, and we have the most favourable fixture this weekend of anyone in that bottom 7 because Palace are away to Liverpool. I mean, yeah, you look at what's that? You're looking at Brighton at home, City away, Wolves at home, and Chelsea away for Everton, Forest, Luton, Burnley. And then obviously we're at home at Sheffield United. So those 4 fixtures that those 4 teams have got are not favourable fixtures for any of them. So this is a huge weekend for us. Huge weekend for us, especially with Palace playing Liverpool as well. Massive weekend for us.
With that in mind, let me go on. You carry on, Craig, and I'm just going to get this screen up.
No, all I was going to say is we need to. I feel like gosh, I'm just getting so wound up thinking about it, and it hasn't happened yet. If we play a back 5 and lose this weekend, it will become an incredibly, incredibly toxic environment. There will be boos. People will be calling for Frank's head because ultimately he is the one that makes that decision. If we go for a back 5 this weekend and we lose, we deserve to go down. We deserve to go down.
With that in mind, I've pulled up for anyone watching on YouTube a lineup selector. Callum, I want you to give me your ideal lineup. I think we're all in the same boat that we do want to see 3. And shout out to Chris who asked me a question on Facebook about whether we'd prefer Brian and Wisser up top or Tony and Wisser up top. Tony and Brian up top. I think we'd all say we'd probably prefer Tony and Brian considering the chemistry that they've shown throughout the couple of seasons they've been in the Prem. But Callum, because I think we all agree that we want a 4 at the back, we want 3 up top. I think the kind of 3 kind of speaks for itself, so I'll just fill in that now. But the rest of the team go from right back.
Roslev.
Yeah.
Collins.
Yeah. Bearing in mind, I think Ethan could be back for this fixture.
Well, they've kept that one quiet,
But
haven't they?
maybe off the bench. Maybe off the bench. I think he was close to being back for Thingy. And we've also have to bear in mind that Kevin Schade, who the club did all the promo in the world to kind of suggest that he was going to feature against Villa, didn't make it into the squad. But you'd like to think that, considering he wasn't in the squad, he would be available to come off the bench. But yeah, carry on, Callum. So you got Collins. I'm assuming you're going Aya.
Yeah.
And then you go in Sergio on the left.
That's right.
Midfield.
This is where it gets interesting. Damsgaard.
I think Janelt's putting a decent shift in Norgaard's absent in recent week as a sitting 6. I don't know why it's got it as an 8 on the thing, but go Janelt holding, and then I'd probably what do you reckon, Callum? Damsgaard after his good shift the other day?
Damsgaard and Jensen in there.
Now that team on paper, for the people watching on YouTube, and they'll be able to see it, but you're able to hear it as well because we've just said it. But that team against Sheffield United we should be able to score some goals. We should be able to score some goals.
I think that KLP's got a case of starting up as one of those front three as well. You know, we all know what impact Wissa has as a bench player coming on as a sub, as an impact substitute. We know what he can do. KLP's got a fighting chance of being a part of that front three. He's got a fighting chance.
We're seeing Schade this week. I'm telling you now, there was no chance he was going to play on Saturday. He was saving him for these 2 games. These are key for us.
Games.
Now, I'm taking Everton out of the equation. Look, of course, it'll be good to go and get. Let's not get too greedy here, Craig. You know, let's go and beat Sheffield United and go and get a positive result against Luton, and then there's those 2 wins that we need. It's as simple as that. You know, 7 points by the time we play Luton, then beat them. That's 10. I'm making this sound very easy because we haven't won in so long, but you know, that's what we got to do. Simple as that. You get to 10 points with the games that are left. You know, that is enough. I really don't see. I agree with Dan here. I can't see Luton, as much as they've got that drive and they've got that spirit behind them. I think we've done our bit if we can get 2 positive results here. But this is Brentford Football Club. Again, I've been supporting them so long. Honestly, I don't even know what's going to happen. Honestly, everyone said to me at work, they said, "What are you worried about?" I said, "Flipping heck. This game this weekend is going to drive me head in for the rest of this week." It's I'm bricking it, boys. I'm bricking it. But
I think I'm confident we'll get a result on Saturday. Based on the 3 performances after the international break, I'm confident we'll get a result on Saturday. Don't laugh at me because I said on the preview before, if you've watched it, the preview with Neil, I said I think we'd have a chance of nicking something in Villa, and we ended up nicking something in Villa, probably unlucky to lose in the circumstances. But I think Saturday...
We didn't lose. We didn't lose.
Yeah. You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say. I think on Saturday, I'm confident we'll get a result, particularly if we set up in a 4. We should set up in a 4. We've got Ivan, Wiss, potentially KLP, and Brian. I'm confident we get a result on Saturday. It's just that Luton game that scares me, considering they got that last-minute winner against. When that goal went in, oh God, that was not good for us. But
I knew they were going to do it. I knew they have that. As I say again, the drive that they have, the spirit there in the camp, and you know they play some really good football at home in particular. And even away, they've been scoring goals. Let's not forget that. You know, they're not afraid to go and play football. They don't sit back. They get at the teams that they're playing against. You know, they want to go and play good football. And you know, they've been very, very good with their signings they've made this season. You know, a lot of people said that they brought in a lot of good quality championship players. I've always said Ross Barkley as well has really cemented that midfield for Luton. You know, I mean, I really hope they stay up throughout all this. I'd say I really hope they do.
You're a closet Luton fan, Callum. There's a lot of praise.
No, I love. Look, I've gone there many times. You know, over the times we played them from League Two. We went over at Kenilworth Road. You know, right through to the Championship when they were in the Championship with us as well, and they stayed up when a lot of people thought they wouldn't. You know, I think full credit to the club. I think it's great. I think it's great. But before we end it, this points deduction for Everton slightly. I actually think it goes against us because, you know, they know now they need to seriously get their ideas together. 2 points surprised me. I thought if there was going to be a big punishment, I thought it was going to be a big punishment. But yet again, whoever the powers that be have decided that a 2-point deduction for effectively fiddling the books is a sufficient, sufficient
eight
crime.
8 altogether.
Yeah, but I don't think that's enough. You've
relegate them now.
Yeah.
but then again, I'd rather stay up on merit than point deductions being made. If you look at it, we'd be 1 point outside. We'd be outside the relegation zone. We'd be the team above the relegation zone. I don't like the whole idea of points deductions and keeping the float because of that. It's not the way I roll. But if they had a points deduction, they should have had more. There you go. There's my controversial point of the week.
They've got a very up and down running as well, because they play Forest, Arsenal, Luton, Sheffield United in 4 of their last 7, but they're also away to Arsenal, at home to Liverpool, away to Chelsea in there as well. They've got what they will look at as very winnable games, in the same way that we're looking at them as winnable games. They've probably got, as we do, a very favourable running towards the end of the season, and they got a game in hand on us.
Liverpool, though, realistically, I don't think,
I know.
It's going to be interesting to see how this pans out. But I think, like I said, a win on Saturday will go a long way, a very long way. I'm nervous about the Luton game, but a win on Saturday, Luton get beat by Man City, and I think we're on our way. I do think we're on our way. Given that 7-point gap, obviously it'd be difficult if Luton beat us, and then we'll be shitting ourselves again. But I think Saturday, like you said, Dan and Craig, you teed it up. I think it is the biggest game that we've had since we've been in the Premier League. And can I just say as well to anyone listening, if you're attending these final running games, you've got to be absolutely on it, because the boys, this is now the most important stretch of the season. We need the G-Tech rocking like it was against Man United every single home game, and the away fans need to be good as well. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I think that would be a good point to wrap the podcast. But yeah, in the comments, we want to hear from you. How do you think we performed over the last 3 games? Would you have taken 3 points from the last 3 before the break? What do we need from the next 3 to guarantee survival? Let us know. We want to hear from you. The Eden Road podcast will be back later this week with a Sheffield United preview. So do keep your eyes peeled for that. And just before we go, remember to drop a comment down below, like I just said, with your thoughts ahead of the Sheffield game. God, it's just making me nervous even thinking about it. Subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels, and also give us a follow on our socials. That's at the Eden Road on Twitter and at Eden Road Pod on Instagram. Gents, always a pleasure. Let's hope for 3 points on Saturday.
Up the bees.
Up the bees.